Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. Today, I welcome Charles and Heidi to the show. And I'm excited for our conversation about health, about things around this topic, which I think is really going to help with your mindset today and your confidence. So just a quick introduction to Charles and Heidi, and then we'll dive straight in. So Charles and Heidi are the husband and wife duo behind Kava and Kettlebells, a podcast where they dive into fitness, botanicals, and intentional living. Charles is a US Air Force veteran. Heidi is a certified personal trainer, and together they homeschool their two daughters while advocating for a strong alcohol-free lifestyle. Through real-life experience, humor, and honesty, they explore how strength training and plant-based alternatives like Kava can support physical and mental well-being. So, welcome to the show today. Glad to have you both and two of you. So, I know there's going to be even more conversation. So yeah, just to be really good to know, first of all, what's your, you do all these things around like an alcohol-free life, you're doing like this fitness, and yeah, you're obviously and plant-based alternatives, you're obviously very, very passionate about health and really helping people with that as well. And, you've got your podcast. Where does that come from, like both of you?
So I think for, both of us, it's been a journey, right? Heidi and I have both kind of started in different places and now we kind of ended up here. But, really for us, a huge foundation of our life is fitness. And some people might joke and scoff and be like, oh, just, meatheads and exercise fanatics. But when you really ingrain fitness and healthy living into your life and alcohol free as well, and we'll get into that, it really starts reaching out to all facets, right? So your confidence, your work ethic, your discipline, your mental fortitude. And you can't argue no matter what you're doing, no matter what line of work you are in, entrepreneur, intrapreneur, whatever it is, student, athlete, name it. All of this can elevate your life when you kind of, ingrain the style into your lifestyle. And I think Heidi could, probably agree with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've always had a healthy living foundation in the sense of, the way I was raised and the food I ate. It was always a priority for my family to, put good food and good, vitamins in our body. I was always active, but Charles was always he was always the fitness guy. He was always the one, lifting the weights. And I always supported that and said, you do you, but I want to have nothing to do with it. And, then I had kids and, my journey was also always one of actually like gaining weight and, having kids needing that sort of outlet for that mental clarity and just that time that for me, and that's when I was like, all right, teach me, like take me to the gym, show me how to do this. And that's when I sort of adopted the lifestyle as well. And yeah, like Charles said, it really, if you haven't gotten bit by the gym bug yet, like when you do, you can attest that it really does change the outlook you have on life. And it's not just physical, it's really that mental resiliency as well. And it's just been huge for us in that sense.
That's awesome. And kind of like touching on what you said about the mental aspect, what has going to the gym done for you sort of like mentally?
So I'll say, even for myself, I think to have something that you do hard every day, if you wake up and you do something really hard and you challenge yourself, the
Mm,
rest of the day, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, right? But you're going to manage your day better. And we know that exercise it's been proven to be more effective now than some medications. I'm not a doctor, so talk to your doctor first before, dropping off anything that you're taking. But we know how important exercise and strength training is to mental health. And I will say, everyone, they tend to look at exercise, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but to look better, right? And I think that's okay if you want to look better, if that improves your confidence. But, for myself and Heidi, fitness is a constant. And if you have that constant in your life and the way to go and have a positive outlet, a physical outlet, it's so good for your mental health. And and going back to kind of my experience, like in the military, because I do suffer from, some PTSD, and that's a whole, different story and kind of with that. And, we're both TBI, survivors. There is that mental health aspect to it to where you need fulfillment from something, and you can get that from a higher power, your faith, your friends, your family, the work that you do. But doing something hard, doing something challenging every day, I think a lot of people have lost sight of that, right? It's so
Mm.
easy now. You don't have to leave your house. You have Uber come, right? Uber Eats.
Yeah.
You can work remote. Yeah, you can watch Netflix all day. You don't have to live a hard life. And I think when it comes to fulfillment, so what so many people are lacking is that physical piece of it. We need that physical work. We need that exertion every day. Do something hard, pick up something heavy, running 5 miles, whatever it is. People, you don't realize how you end up craving that and how it really does kind of reset your mindset.
Yeah, and I feel like one thing I tell my clients a lot is, the world is insane right now. Like the world is so crazy. There's so much in everyone's day to day that is so out of our control. As much as we try and plan everything and have that control, there's just so much that we don't have control over. But the way you move your body and the things you put in your body, that is the one thing that you do have control over. So amidst all the chaos,
Mm.
it really helps to kind of ground me to be able to take that control and take that power and push myself. And I think that is huge. And if I can do that, like Charles said, then I know that I can push through. And when other hard situations come at me, I have that fortitude to do that. And I know, I have that confidence that I can do that.
Mm. So yeah, it sounds like taking control of what you can do and then pushing yourself. But when the uncertain, which is everything else outside of us, comes in, it's like, yeah, you feel like you got that more of that mental resilience or strength. It sounds like. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What
I,
sorry, go ahead, Charles.
oh, I was just going to say, and I want people to realize too that when we say, hard and stuff, and some people might be like, well, I'm not quite there yet, but a lot of it is just, you just got to start, right?
Mm.
And just start by doing something that challenges yourself every day, even if it's for you, a 10 mile, walk around your neighborhood. If that's hard for you, great. Your hard doesn't have to be, my hard as well. My extreme isn't your extreme, right? And I think, especially when it comes to fitness, people shouldn't fall into that trap of comparing themselves to other. There's a David Goggins out there who are, running like 100 miles in a day. And it's like,
That's not realistic for
it's
the
not
average
realistic.
person.
No. So, don't get bent out of shape if, you don't think something is difficult enough. If it's difficult for you and you're pushing yourself, you met the intent.
Mm. Mm. I love that because everyone it's easy to compare as well, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, look at like David Goggins on YouTube. It would be like, you gotta do this. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. For you, I just want to touch on for you. We talked about strength training, and you talked about, and again, it's where everyone's at. I think the point was like, and doing what's right for you. But he talks about strength training. Do you feel like there's a difference in terms of the benefits from strength training to cardio?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I definitely feel like society has sort of ingrained in people, again, like Charles said, the average person, they see fitness as I want to look good, I want to lose weight, I want the scale to read a certain number. And most people think that the way I need to do that is I need to eat less and I need to run. And that's like the biggest mistakes in my opinion. And in my opinion, as a personal trainer, the most important thing for everyone to do is to build muscle. And, a lot of people talk about how America specifically has an obesity problem. We have an obesity epidemic. And in my opinion, it's not the fact that we have an obesity epidemic, we have an under-muscled epidemic. And it's not that people are so overweight, it's that they're so under-muscled. And that's a huge correlation with brain health as well. Alzheimer's, dementia, they are finding that the one commonality with all of them is the lack of muscle. And, people think of building muscle as, well, I don't want to be all big and bulky and, this bodybuilder. And that's not what it is. It's just, strengthening those muscles, preventing, osteoporosis. Your brain is a muscle. Like working out
Mm,
helps your brain and it increases your metabolism. It helps you be healthier, helps your body be, bounce back when you're sick. It helps you, the more muscle you have, the more chances of success during a surgery. Like having muscle is like the foundation of health in my opinion. And cardio, when you run, that's great for your heart. So it's not that you shouldn't do
Yeah.
cardio,
Yeah.
but it's a very different signal that you're sending to your body when you do cardio versus lifting weights, strength training. And you're sending one signal to build muscle when you're lifting weights. When you're doing cardio, you're sending essentially the message to your body for, I need to be quicker. I need to increase my stamina. And if you're not also lifting weights while doing that to maintain that muscle, the message that you're sending your body is, well, I need to pare down that muscle because it's too heavy. So if all you're doing is cardio and all you're doing is running, you might have an increased body fat percentage because you're paring down that muscle in order to be better at that cardio.
mm. Oh, very interesting. I love it. And I certainly mentally can feel the difference after doing like a hard weights. And I can definitely feel even like a day or two of like no exercise, not that I'm eating like terrible or something, but I might just be walking for a couple of days, but I'm not like running or doing intervals or something like that. It's like my mental health is not terrible, but it's like definitely not as like sharp and on point from doing those kind of
Absolutely, yeah.
activities.
In like mornings that so we work out in the morning,
Yeah.
and mornings that I don't work out, because we don't, work out every single day. I know, crazy. We do take rest days,
And you should.
and
And you should.
you should, or have an active recovery day. And on those days that we aren't working out or we don't make an effort to take a long walk to do some sort of movement, I am much more agitated. I am not as focused when I'm working.
Sluggish.
I'm sluggish. I get sidetracked, and there's a huge connection to that for sure.
And do you find you mentioned about working out in the morning? Do you feel like that's beneficial to everyone, or people got their specific times for exercise for them?
I think, the best time to work out is when you can work out. When you know that you have the time to do it and you're gonna make yourself do it, then get it done. To actually break down the science, yes, it is better to work out in the morning. It's better for your circadian rhythm, for your sleep, your cortisol levels, all that kind of stuff. And especially, you know, pre-workouts and coffee become very popular in the fitness space for people to, take before they work out. If you're working out 7 p.m., you got to be up at, 6 a.m. and the next day. It's probably not the best idea to, slam, three espressos and this, new pre-workout with this stimulant in it before you go to bed because you'll probably be up all night. So, yes, most of the science does point to morning to mid-morning is optimal. But at the same time, that shouldn't dissuade anyone. If the only time you have is 30 minutes in the evening after dinner, then use that time. Get it done. Right. Kind of that, not that no excuses attitude, but if you have time to watch Netflix in the evening, then you probably have time to go for a walk or probably have time to push-ups in your room.
Mm, I love that. Always got time. Always got time, I believe. Yeah, I'd
I
like
agree.
to. Yeah, I'd like to kind of touch a little bit on the TBI that you touched on, if you're good with that, because um, I know people go through like sort of different things. It sounds like I believe both of you have gone through some traumatic brain injury. So, yeah, would you be open to just sharing a little bit about what you went through and kind of how you've worked through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go over mine first. So we were in a really bad car accident. Gosh, it was about 6 years ago, almost 7 years. This September, this August will be 7 years. And we were driving from our family about 2 hours north, and we actually don't remember it, but this is what we were told happened is essentially as we were driving home, our car started going under a semi. So Charles was driving, I was on the passenger side, and it started going under the semi on the passenger side. Our girls were in the back, and the whole top of our car was ripped off. Thankfully, though, our girls had, no injuries. Charles had a concussion, and then I was diagnosed with a TBI. I don't remember probably the first 10 to 12 days after the accident. I don't remember the accident. I didn't remember who Charles was. I didn't remember who our girls were. These were just, stories that I was told. And
And to caveat, I will say when I finally came to a couple days later, she had three massive brain bleeds. And essentially the doctors were telling me that there was a high chance that she was probably never going to be Heidi again. She'd be there, but she wouldn't remember, who we were, perform certain tasks, everything that you could, probably imagine that comes with an injury like that. So the severity was high as far as her recovery. And I'll let you finish off here.
yeah, and so I mean, again, I don't remember those instances. And then one day I just kind of came to and I knew who he was
It's
and
about 3, 4 weeks later.
yeah. And I remembered who he was. I remembered who the girls were. And I was in a neurological rehab center. And I'm sure, I'd been working with the same people every day, occupational therapist, physical therapist. But for me, it was the first time I had ever met them. So I'm like, oh, hello, nice to meet you. And so it was crazy. They said it was overnight that I finally came back, who I was finally came back. And I think a huge part of that was also that I had started to work out. And they even said that that was a huge, they think because I had muscle and I was fit, it was a huge reason that they think that I was able to recover so fully and so quickly. And then that took time after. So I was discharged about 4 weeks after that. And it was still, a healing process. I think it took a good year until I fully felt like myself and lots of resting. But the day I got discharged, from the hospital, we went to the gym and, I did my workout. And so that was just, a huge testament to even just confirming how important fitness was for me and for that journey. And yeah, and then Charles, his
Yeah.
TBI was more military related.
Well, so I had that one. It wasn't as, the accident still put me out for, over a day, concussion wise. And then about a year later, when I was overseas, was next to some blast that compounded on top of the previous TBI. Ended up leading to some issues down the road. Actually ended up, being medically disqualified from flying in the Air Force because of the compounded effects. Eventually, when I did fly, just due to that, had some, issues when it comes to migraines and stuff like that. So for me, it was kind of, multiple compounded ones. But I will say, going back to Heidi, because she had really bad in that accident, it was a miracle. The doctor said it was a miracle how fast she recovered, how she came out of there. They've never seen anything like it, all that kind of stuff that they said. But, to give credit to Heidi, when she came out of the hospital, that was when she was also working towards becoming a certified personal trainer. And I think it could have been really easy for her to kind of give up because, when I saw her come out, she was discharged, but like she said, it took her a good solid year to get, all her, grammar back, her verbiage, kind of the way she thought, task and stuff. And she didn't let it stop her. She went right back to studying for her exam and, and passed it. And it was a big, it was a big milestone. And some people might be like, oh, well, whatever. But, for us, it was a big deal. And I think it was a testament to, no matter what happens, physical setback, financial setback, emotional, whatever it might be, right? If you have something that you want, you really want to get it, you will overcome it and you will find the way to get there, and she did. So
It sounds like the health, the way you're looking after your health really help you through the kind of the recovery quicker is what I'm sort of getting.
I
Had
think so. I absolutely think
100%.
so. Yeah.
mm, it's awesome. And I know you have quite a you're vegan, right? And you're also alcohol free.
Well, we're not vegan. We absolutely love meat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we are. So when we say plant-based, we are talking more like botanicals. So,
Oh, okay.
we have our podcast is called Kava and Kettlebells. Kava is, a root. We're very pro botanicals like kratom, cannabis, CBD. All the different types of botanical plants in that
Yeah. And
sense.
in all ways to hopefully, reduce stigma around those botanicals and to show people that, they don't need alcohol to have a good time. And in fact, when it comes to alcohol, for a lot of people, that's a burden on their fitness journey.
Mm,
It's talk about all the setbacks that alcohol gives you when it comes to a fitness related journey, metabolism, muscle building, fat loss, recovery. It just compounds, compounds, compounds. But at the same time, people are like, well, I like alcohol because I like to have something that makes me feel good.
I like the socialization aspect of
Yeah.
it.
And
mm,
that's completely understandable, right? But for us, we were always looking for, all right, well, we know alcohol is not going to be conducive to our fitness lifestyle. It's not going to be conducive to, we know now that alcohol is linked to 7 different types of cancer directly. This came out this last year. All these health issues. And so we started exploring like, all right, well, what else is there out there that we can use to relax, to have a good time. And that's how I came upon kava, which is like how you said, it's a root from the South Pacific Islands that's been traditionally drunk for kind of those effects of relaxation, socialization come together. Kava in the United States now is becoming very popular. Kava bars, that's kind of like the
yeah.
non-alcoholic bar now, where people go and they drink kava and kratom and CBD options. They're exploding here. So more people are finding kava. We know that Gen Z is rejecting alcohol. They're not drinking alcohol. The numbers have gone down significantly. So we know that the younger generation is starting to reject alcohol, but they're looking for other options. And so that's why, things like, in cannabis, it can be a hot topic for some people. And we know, abuse of cannabis has detrimental effects on the brain as well, especially developing brains. But things like kava, side effect free, really. In fact, it's being studied for a lot of medicinal uses. And when we found kava, we completely replaced alcohol. It didn't affect our fitness journey. And we're able to drink it, socialize, and kind of find this whole new world of, these botanicals to be used in place of, alcohol and hard drugs.
Yeah, and especially because we both are, brain injury survivors. Alcohol
Mm,
is, it's not like we've never drank alcohol, especially when we were younger. We did our partying, we did
Yep.
our alcohol days, and we know firsthand how that affected us. And, alcohol is just really, a poison. And it's okay, like if you want to do it here or there, you have family and events, like that's okay. Like you shouldn't feel bad about drinking alcohol, but I feel like it's pushed so much, it's so normalized that that's the only option. Like that's the only option if you want to have a good time and hang out and have fun. And, with the brain injury, we knew that that just was something that we wanted to cut out of our life because it is so detrimental to the brain and to your health. And we, did not want to risk. We were when with the brain, you're always recovering, right? Like
mm,
it's not like a cut where it just scabs over and you're good to go. Like we didn't want to have any sort of, detriments to our healing brains. And so it was just something that we just cut out and we let kava come into the picture and it just fit so perfectly and we never looked back.
Yeah. Yeah. Never look back.
I love that. Yeah, I've heard of the Carver bars. Like, I had someone on the show a few months back last year, and he was talking about it. So, diving into that, it's fascinating. I have to look it up a bit more. So, is there something? You obviously you do a lot of physical exercise. You do have your rest days, like you shared. You need the body to recover. Is there anything you find mentally for you, both of you, because we've all got our favorite things that really helps you like mentally, focused, stable, grounded, more calm. So I'm always fascinated to hear what people are doing.
Yeah, I think fitness is definitely up
Mm,
there. For us, we're also very big in our faith, so we're Christians, and that's a huge part of our life as well. And so being able to have that quiet time and just praying, and that
mm,
definitely sort of helps us set the foundation for our day, and that really is the foundation for our life and our marriage. Is God's word. So I would say for God's word and fitness would be my top two.
Yeah, and I think too a good way to describe the faith, a lot of, I've seen a lot too, the mindset, right? And using that time to meditate, to, have gratitude and everything like that. And, for us, when we pray, for us that is, I guess you would say like a meditation. That's our time to, talk to God, to reflect on what we're doing, to be grateful, to thank Him for what He's provided, right? All that goes in there. And I'm not here preaching Christianity, but I do think it is important that people do have, a higher power, something that's bigger than themselves, something that can ground them and can bring them back to home base. When, because there's so much stuff out there right now. We're so distracted. There's, you know, now with, even with AI, people don't know what's real. They don't know what's fake. They're confused. They're depressed. They're scared. Our news cycles 24/7 now. We're constantly bombarded with like the
mm,
things you can see when you go on Instagram. I mean, like the violence you can see, everything is just next level. And if people don't have something that they can pull back to and find joy and find grace and, again, center themselves and ground themselves, I think that's something that they should go on the journey to find.
I like that, having some kind of faith. And like you said, you're talking about Christianity, but if it's not that for you, some kind of higher power or something you can go into, which something I do as well, is just kind of like tap into that like version of me when it's kind of like you're feeling maybe a bit certain, a bit shaky and things like that. I know for me, it's also, I'm very, in the last year or so, become very conscious of frequency and things that impact me. Exercise makes me obviously rise up. But then information that's coming in, I've just become very mindful of what's on Netflix nowadays. It's like very
Yes.
entertaining, but it's like I might be watching something like, or saw something like Gangs of London. I'm like, actually, that's really unconsciously dragging me down. So
Absolutely.
it's like films, and then listening to The Greatest Showman, which I'm not ashamed to admit, watching something like that, where it's like all about hopes and dreams. You're just like
Yeah,
completely
great
different.
music, best soundtrack.
It is, it is. I mean, this dancer at the kitchen and everything like that. So
Yeah. And
Look,
yeah.
I think that is such a good point too that you make that I think a lot of people have a hard time doing is really pausing and thinking like, how is this making me feel? And really reflecting on what did I just listen to? What did I just read? What apps am I on? What did I just watch? And how is it making me feel? And that's something I noticed recently about Facebook. The Facebook app, I had to delete it because every time it's not even that I would browse it very much, but just opening it and being on Facebook would agitate me. And I would find that I was agitated and short nerved. And so, really recognizing how things are impacting you and being okay taking that out of your life and like adjusting is huge.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Facebook can be a big one. Notice as well.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the world's gonna end on whatever date again. Oh,
Yes.
that one again. I mean, I'm not denying it's impossible, but it's just if you keep seeing that constantly, what's it doing for
Yeah.
you mentally? Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. No, thank you. No, thank you both. I know you've got a ton more like value you're sharing on your podcast and what you're doing, and yeah, this definitely recommend obviously people to reach out to you, check out some more of your materials. But yeah, kind of like on that, where is the best place for the listener to find you if they want to dive a bit deeper into what we talked about today? And is there maybe a final point you want to leave us with today, whether it's something we've talked about or it's an additional point you both wanted to emphasize?
Yeah, so I'll take the as far as where to find us. We are the most active on Instagram, and if you DM us there, we try our best to get back to everyone and give the best info that we can. And you can find us at kava underscore kettlebells. We also have a website, www.kavaandkettlebells.net. And then as far as listening to our podcast and watching it, so we are on all the, audio platforms, so Spotify, iTunes, Audacity, everything like that, along with YouTube. We launched on YouTube earlier this year in January, and it's just at Kava and Kettlebells. And as far as, asking us stuff, like I said, Instagram, I'd probably say is definitely the best way to reach out to us.
Yeah, you can definitely just, message us on Instagram. And as far as like any last words, I think the biggest thing I would leave the audience with is, whatever habit in your life that you're wanting to become more consistent with, whether it's your nutrition, your sleep, your fitness, whatever it is, really step out of that all or nothing mindset and really be okay starting small and just do it. Like just take that first step, do the thing, and don't be all or nothing. Like don't set your sights so high. Just, commit to taking a 10-minute walk a day, start there, gradually progress, and that's okay. Like take those baby steps, and that will help you get to that consistency. And having that consistency, that's going to improve your confidence, improve your positive mindset, and will just benefit you, so much. So that's the advice that I would leave you all with.
Well said. I like that.
I love that. No, thank you for coming on and everything you shared today. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having us, and this was wonderful.
Yeah, we appreciate it, John.
Awesome. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.